What advice do you have for people buying art?
Buy mine.
Love it. Why not? I'm here in Bark Green on a really chilly morning to see if I can find Alexander Rhys' studio, which I'm pretty sure is hidden back up here somewhere. And I'm hoping to learn more about his travels, his journeys as an artist, and maybe even see if he can bring a little bit of heat into my life right now, because it's flipping cold. I think this might be it. Let's have a look.
Hello.
Hi, Alexander.
How you
Hi,
doing?
great to meet you.
Yeah, mate, you too. Do you want to come in?
Yeah, I'd love to, thanks. This is your studio, fantastic. All this work's incredible. Alexander, I'm hoping you're okay with me asking a few questions about your work. There's loads of research out there, so I've been reading up, and there's an awful lot I want to know about you and your work. So, is that all right?
Sure, yeah.
Should we get set up?
Let's do it.
So, how long have you been in this studio for?
I've been here for about 3 years now.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good space. I'm happy being here.
Yeah. Where were you before?
I was in Digbeth, actually, in Birmingham, about half an hour away. But I prefer this space now.
Mm. So Birmingham's an important aspect of your life and your artistic journey. And you've got this incredible ability to find meaning and inspiration in the everyday and found objects, and to use those as a starting point. Is there a specific instance where something that you found that other people might overlook has led to particular meaning or importance for you?
I remember at university I found a pink chair that was being thrown out. You know, it was outside somebody's house, and the way the sunlight was hitting it really brought this kind of discarded object to life. And that kind of really opened my eyes up to start photographing the everyday. And now that's kind of gone into the painting.
Was it the colour? The vibrancy of the pink?
Yeah, well, I think it all kind of, it all works together. The kind of, the time of day, the light, the kind of shade of pink. Sometimes, things just kind of catch my eye, and I just think, for one reason or another, that works. It's almost talking to me, saying, take my photograph. So I take the photograph, and it's not until I get back home until I look on my laptop, and I'm thinking, do you know what, there's actually more than what I thought this photograph was originally. It might be the way there's kind of colour combinations and relationships in the image. It might be slight angles and perspectives in the image that I think works really well. And now I've taken this into painting.
Do you think photography has trained you as a painter?
Yeah, well, I think it's all linked. It's all about looking and observing. It's about telling a story, a narrative, getting the viewer involved within the painting. And it is about placing a spotlight upon the banality and the everyday. It's about kind of making that interesting and just showing it in a way that really shows it that it is interesting, because these things really are interesting the way that they are.
In themselves?
In themselves.
Yeah. But you have to be paying attention, you've got to be listening in order to draw this out. Do you think most people are? No,
well, I think a lot of people are, just unaware of this kind of magic that surrounds us, really, and these, these things that can, tell us stories, and, they're everywhere, you've just got to find them.
Story's so important, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think, it's fascinating that just an object can have such a story. I went for a stage at university of documenting ashtrays, because I was looking from a bird's eye point of view down at these ashtrays, and it's almost like a compass the way in which these cigarette butts were placed around the ashtray, and there might be a discarded receipt in there. If you open the receipt, it can tell you what time somebody bought the beer or from the shop. or he might tell you, what they brought, different information. So you start to work as like a detective. So from going from a simple ashtray, you start to build up this whole narrative. Who were they? What conversations were they having? I find it interesting.
And those stories lie in everyday objects. So if we could get specific about it, there's some of your work behind you, and I can see to your right there's a pink-faced crowned creature with a love heart by his head, and it says Vieunite. The inspiration for that, were you up when you had that inspiration, or was the inspiration the duvet that you were under at the time?
Well, I was up. I was in the studio. I was very tired. And a lot of the time when I work, it's very spontaneous. And I was doing this kind of spontaneous painting of this creature. And I just thought, you know what? This almost looks like somebody in a duvet. And as soon as you kind of put that title, Duvet Nights, people can relate to that. You want to be, you want to be in a duvet, wrapped up in a duvet on the sofa, chilling. It's just being fun, really.
And I can see within the fun a lot of references to art and culture that, I can see Jean-Michel Basquiat in that painting. You see a particular influence of yours. I see that in the crown motif.
Yeah, sure.
Particularly.
Yeah, it's all about taking different aspects of artists that I like and kind of maybe bringing them back to life and putting it into the painting. And there's different, there's bits of Monet in some of the paintings. There's bits of Picasso's.
That's amazing. I can see that now. As soon as you said Monet, the painting that's behind you totally transformed itself into a lily pond in my mind. I hadn't seen it, I hadn't made that connection. But formally, it is very like the paintings he did of the lily ponds with those sort of flowers that are almost right on the surface of the canvas, like the gold is.
Sure.
Amazing.
Well, no, one of the things that I've tried to develop recently is turning these kind of Monet ideas into some sort of Southeast Asian way. Almost if Monet went to Japan, what would he create? And I think the use of gold, and also the use of spray paint, it has that graffiti urban element. So again, it's got this kind of urban element, this kind of impressionistic elements, this storytelling elements, the Southeast Asian elements.
Yeah.
And it just seems to come together somehow.
I love this shimmering effect, and that reference to Monet that you made transforms it. I can totally see that, lily ponds.
Yeah, well again, with Monet, it's kind of, it's got that floating effect on top, and it's about depth and layers. And there's an artist called Hans Hofmann, where he would put these kind of robust structures onto a floating backdrop. And again, it's about playing with that idea of like illusion, I suppose. Movement. It's got a fluidity across the canvas.
Do you spend a lot of time sort of plundering art books and feeding your mind?
Yeah, but I think sometimes I can think too much about art, or I can think too much or compare myself to other artists, and I get so confused with actually what is my style. So sometimes I just kind of get away from research and just literally say, today I'm just going to paint. And I think sometimes that's when the best work comes out, because it's just pure painting.
Yeah. Painting, and there's a lot of reference to script in your work. It's like, I'm looking here at these marks, look almost like Arabic script.
Yeah, again, I'm interested in mark making, in a suggestion of a word or a letter.
It's like Twombly an influence.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I can totally see that with the sgraffito here and the mark making.
Yeah, it's all about this kind of fluidity of of writing. It's not it's about the visual element of that. And I love the way his work kind of just dances across in this fluid gesture across the canvas.
And you get this amazing kind of collapsing of time in as well, don't you? From sort of the Etruscans to Italy in the 1960s to New York today.
I love it.
Yeah, amazing. It's the same kind of layering with your work, I think.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I'm so happy you mentioned him, actually.
Oh, cool. You know, your work has travelled as well as you. You're very widely travelled yourself, but you've achieved international recognition. You've exhibited in major cities all around the place. You've got clients in Moscow, in Brazil, in, you know, all around the world. You've just come back from Vietnam. You told me that you were up at 4 a.m. this morning. You're still recovering from your jet lag.
Yeah.
But you've got a strong connection to where we are right now, which is we're on the outskirts of Birmingham. You've got a strong connection to Birmingham. Could you share what it is about the city, beyond its multicultural atmosphere, that continues to resonate with you on a personal level and fuel your creativity?
Well, I think, you know, from growing up in Birmingham, you know, going to different, events in the evening, different clubs, you know, it's always been quite a city with lots of energy. And again, I'm interested when this energy dies down. You know, in the morning, you know, there's like a completely different energy, and I just want to try and capture this kind of, you know, just different periods throughout the day, really. And again, it comes back to the discarded objects. You know, I find it quite funny that there's a discarded kebab on the street. I'm thinking, who was it? You know, were they drunk? You know, how did it get there? And it's almost like a symbol of, I don't know, of just kind of like a good night out, I suppose.
Yeah.
Again, it's a story.
Yeah, so let's talk about your story for a moment. You have described the Prince's Trust as having saved your life. Could you share a specific moment or turning point with your involvement with them that really solidified that feeling for you and that made you believe in who you are as an artist?
Sure. So essentially with the Prince's Trust, I had a mentor, Rob, and he saw this potential in me, I suppose, that you know, I could make, you know, a living, I suppose, from being an artist. And I had some work in the Prince's Trust shop in London, and it went really well. Sales went really, really well. And I thought, you know what, you know, this could be something. And through the Prince's Trust, you're involved with different, you know, celebrities. You know, I did a project with Fern Cotton, and she's been very supportive. You know, about my artwork. I speak to her about my addiction, and about how I'm overcoming my addiction. And the whole Prince's Trust, just everybody involved is so supportive. It's like one big family.
Well, you mentioned your addiction there, and your journey to becoming a full-time artist is linked, I think, to your sobriety. You said that your sobriety has brought you improved clarity and focus. How has this personal transformation changed your artistic process? And also, I wonder if it's changed your overall perspective on life.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, when there was painting, there was more paint on the floor than the canvas. But no, it's, you know, it's... the thing is with addiction, it makes you believe that you need to have a drink or a fix in order to do something that you're already good at. You know, I was going to the studio, but on the way to the studio I was popping into the pub, and before I know it I was spending all the day at the pub rather than at the studio. But it was very easy to convince yourself that, I'm an artist, I'm bohemian, I'm meant to be drinking and doing drugs, when I know that's all a lie now.
It's a trap.
It's a trap. The addiction wants you to believe that. And it's not until you actually just stop drinking and, you know, actually get the help, that when you step away from that, you realise that it all is just one big lie. But no, yeah, the painting itself has actually got more defined. Before, when I was drinking, it was a lot more abstract. Now it's got more storytelling. It's got more, you know, structure in the paintings. You know, there's conversations within the paintings. So yeah, it's definitely, Well, I would say it's got better.
And that's interesting to hear that it's become more focused and more defined. Now that you're sober, is your art more meaningful to you?
Yeah, but I think the artwork now is almost, I don't know, kind of like, I guess because I'm more, when we're drinking and when we're using, we're not facing facts and we're not dealing with problems. But the more that you deal with problems and the more that you overcome them, the more confident you get. And I think the more confident I'm getting and the more realising who I am as a person, that is coming out in the paintings. The paintings are becoming more authentic and more me. I'm actually kind of like beginning my own style. And I'm interested in developing this style and, finding out, who am I as a person? Who am I as an artist? And I'm just having a great time. I'm having a great time.
You talked earlier on about photographing ashtrays and seeing kebabs on the pavement as tokens of a night out. There must be something in that still calls to you, that must be difficult for you to overcome on a day-to-day basis. Addiction it's like something you recover from long term.
Yeah, I think the most important thing with addiction is to keep it in the day. Just for today, as we say in AA. We've only got today. And I think a lot of anxiety, the reason why I was drinking, was thinking about the future or the past. Well, we don't know, but we only know what's here now. So, it's important to be in the moment. And the more you're in the moment, the more that you're in the moment, the more energy that you're putting into creating something, the more thought process, the more the painting becomes alive because you're actually alive yourself.
That's amazing, because you talked about how your work was more abstract. And in your answer there, you've talked about moving from abstraction in life, to not really living in the moment and thinking about the past and the future, being worried about the past and worried about the future, to gaining a kind of clarity of seeing where you are right now. And you've got that sort of more specific, detailed, granular element within your own works. As looking around your studio here, I can see so many individual references, textures, layers to your work. And I think that, in some way, your journey is reflected in the work that I can see here.
Absolutely. It's, the more I paint, the more, the more I feel that I'm really showing that I can achieve something in life. I strongly believe that it's only now I'm sober, is that this is why I was put on this planet to paint. Before I was lost, I lacked direction. I was scared, I was vulnerable, but painting brings me peace. When I paint, I feel free.
Well, there's so much to unpack there. I want to begin with what painting does for you. So you said that painting brings peace, and you mentioned earlier on that you'd worked with Fern Cotton, who I think you were helping to explore ideas of art therapy and the application of art for people that may be struggling with mental health issues with Fern at the time.
Yeah, sure. So it was about exploring everyday objects and how this, essentially how can somebody just get involved in painting straight away. So for me, I don't even need a brush. The person at home doesn't even need a brush. What can you apply the paint to a canvas with? So essentially I thought, a spoon, or I did a painting with a brick.
Wow.
So once you start exploring these objects and putting paint on these objects and painting with them, again, that's about being in the moment. That's about exploring something very, very simple. And that is really good for the mental health, because you're in the moment. You're not thinking about yesterday or tomorrow or 5 minutes time, because you're interested in exploring what is going on right now.
So
What can I achieve with this spoon and a bit of paint?
Yeah. So you were helping other people to discover that sort of spontaneity and
Yeah, sure,
ability
sure.
to live in the moment.
Yeah, so it's all about having fun. It's all about having fun and you know, as you say, being spontaneous. You know, being a kid again. You know, just exploring.
Being alive.
Yeah, being alive again. Yeah, just being alive. I mean, I also love jazz. You know, jazz again is all these random sounds that are kind of composed together to make some sort of sense. And again, that's like my painting. It's like these random gestures and colours. I mean, there's that much colour and that much gesture, which can be quite chaotic, but it's about having some sort of sense of this chaos.
Yeah.
You know, it's about kind of making this kind of, like, again, it's about having harmony in the chaos and how these two things meet and getting the balance between these two things, you know.
So capturing something sort of just at that point where...
Yeah. It's not too much. It's not too chaotic, and it's not too...
They come together.
Yeah, they come together. Yeah, it's a marriage.
Yeah. Again, it sounds like improv.
Yeah.
When you're not advocating for art as an activity for others to follow in order to improve their own lives, what do you think your paintings are bringing to people?
Well, like, I'm very, you know, like, I'm blown away. I have a lot of people that, you know, that they get in touch with me saying, "Oh, Alex, the painting's just arrived. It's so beautiful. Thank you so much." And you know, the people see the paintings as calming, as tranquil, as full of life, which is, you know, I suppose what I am at the moment. I am full of life. And that's really shown within the paintings, and people say that, you know, they can really feel the energy, but also feel the peace. So it's about having this balance of, yeah, you know, they can feel the energy that I put into the piece, into the painting, but they also feel this kind of harmony, and it's about the kind of two coming together in some way. It's being composed in there. You know, I mean, it is amazing to hear some, you know, some feedback, and you know, some of the paint. I mean, like, I find it hard to believe that the paintings are actually, you know, in people's homes, and I mean, it's incredible. Like, I'm just so thankful, and especially with the metallic paint that I use, it's, you know, from, you know, it could be just a glimpse that you see the painting, you know, from a certain angle. But when the light hits it, and from a certain angle, and every time you go past the painting, it's going to look a little bit different. It's going to come alive. It's talking to you, and I think, you know, that's kind of almost a conversation. You know, the painting's a friend almost.
Yeah. Yes, you make it sound like it's an organism.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Alexander, what is it about gold that you love so much?
I don't know where it came from. I really don't know where it came from, but I just think it just adds such a great backdrop to a piece. You know, it's got that reflective quality. I don't know. I just can't stop using gold. It's just something that I love, and again, I mean, obviously, it's inspired by my time in Japan. And yeah, I just can't stop using gold. It's something about the gold and the layers of gold on top of the colour, which is just, you know, it seems to dance, it seems to move, it's, and you know, that's what, you know, really interests me.
And the movement's also there in that kind of, there's movement here in the, like, fan motif.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Like, you know, again, it's adding that kind of urban element to some traditional Japanese gold style. Yeah.
So actually, probably the luster of Japanese lacquer would be a more pertinent reference.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Like, again, I'm not really sure where it all came from. It just, I seem to got sober and got interested in Japan. It's like, I try not to think about it too much, but things have just seemed to happen when you do the right thing. Like, I was told many things at rehab, one of the things I was told is if you do the right things will happen.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially, by me being sober and staying sober, I'm able to create. If I'm drinking, none of this would happen, or would have happened. So again, as long as I don't drink, I'm giving myself a chance.
Yeah. And that sort of structure, if you do the right things will happen. You've spoken a lot about being spontaneous and improvisational with your work. You said as I came here this morning, you've been up since 4 o'clock. I think you're quite an early riser anyway.
Yeah. I find it's best to paint as soon as you wake up, because as the day goes on, your mind gets cluttered, and you start to overthink paintings. You start to overthink things. So just wake up, get it done.
So you're in the moment.
Yeah, you're in the moment. Yeah.
And you're responding to a flash of inspiration,
of course.
Or a thought, or as this morning, a cat that you passed by and you thought, I'm going to paint a cat.
Yeah.
But if you do the right things will happen. There's craft here too. I mean, it's not haphazard, is it?
No.
I can see in the layers, this canvas here has been prepped. It's got very textured surface. Was that acrylic underneath?
Yeah.
And then, layers and layers of work on top. So, what sort of techniques are you using? Do you have to prime the canvas first?
No, I just literally go for it. I literally just start, to get to work. And I think that's one of the things with my painting. It is quite raw, bit unconventional, but maybe that's why it has got soul. Maybe that's why it has got a story, or it looks like it's got a story, because it just literally is going for it.
You've openly discussed your struggles with anxiety and OCD in other interviews, and you've discussed here with me today that you've used painting as a therapeutic outlet. Now, I wonder what advice you would give to aspiring artists who are also struggling with mental health issues.
Well, I think it's important to talk, and the more we talk, that we find that there is a solution, we find that there is a way, and the more we talk, we feel better. And actually, by talking about our struggles, that's also helping somebody else. So we can all work together, and we can all help each other, because mental health can be difficult. It is difficult. But what I've tried to realise is that it is mental health. It can, just because you think it might not be real. So again, it's all about being in the moment and taking the time to understand that just because you think it doesn't mean you actually thought it.
Something I'm struck by looking at your paintings as well and hearing you talk is that they're obviously very personal to you. They're all sparked by something that you've seen. They've all been filtered by your unique sensibility, informed by your experience of travelling to amazing places like Brazil, Russia, Vietnam, so many places. But they're also very generous. I've spent a lot of time in art schools working with art students, helping them to realise themselves as aspiring artists and to fulfil their ambitions. And creativity and mental illness do seem to go hand in hand a lot of the time. A lot of people that I've worked with have got problems that they're bringing to their work. And I see quite often that those problems are kind of become the subject of the work. You don't do that. There's nothing in the paintings that says, I suffered from OCD.
No.
Was that a conscious decision?
I can't really explain it. As I say, when I paint, I'm just not thinking. But I must be thinking subconsciously, because there is some sort of a narrative and a composition there that that works. It's not just throwing paint at a canvas. But I don't know. It just seems to flow. It's like poetry, I suppose. It just works for some reason. It's just putting random things together, and it's like a chef, putting random ingredients together and making something beautiful to eat. I mean, I'm just a chef with paint.
Wow, that's an amazing thing to say. What a memorable phrase. Urban poetry.
Urban poetry.
Yeah. You find time to mentor others. Why do you do this?
Well, again, it's about helping them. And, you know, by helping them and by helping somebody else, we also help ourselves, because it's, you know, as I said, it's great to talk. You know, I've been very lucky, and I am very lucky. I've got a very supportive family. I've got a great network around me. And, you know, I just want to try and help somebody else. It's, you know, it's important to get things off our chest, and, you know, if I can help, then I'm happy to help.
Yeah, yeah. So you've emphasised the importance of living in the moment, and you even said that art was fun, but we also both know that art's actual real work. Do you have any advice for aspiring artists on the sort of business front?
Well, I think you've got to be wary. You know, people will like to perhaps take advantage, you know, get involved with your work to a level where they may take control or want to take, you know, control of your artwork. But at the same time, you've got to remember that it is your artwork. You are the one that is, you know, that is in control. And I think if you just, you know, speak to family and friends, or, you know, they've got your best interests at heart. So don't feel pressure to run into anything. You know, take time and think, is this a good decision for me? But, you know, it does take a lot of hard work. You know, I've been working for 10 years trying to get to where I am. I had no money. I was living in a very basic place. But, you know, eventually, if you keep on working hard and keep on putting yourself out there, things will happen. You've just got to be determined.
Yeah. And artists don't aspire to retire, do they? They just want to keep on working.
Well, no. Kind of people say to me, what are you going to do when you're 70?
Yeah. Paint.
Paint.
Right.
Paint.
Why would you do anything else?
Exactly.
Yeah. So what advice do you have for people buying art?
Buying art? I'd buy mine.
Love it. Why not? I don't think we need to expand on that answer. It's in a nutshell. So, Alexander, there's several of your amazing pieces in the Vieunite Art Library. They feel really, to me, they feel really intimate and personal. They're works on paper that are made in response to a visit to Japan. I'm thinking of Kyoto Love Letter, Tokyo Notebook, and Mount Fuji Rise. There are a couple of others as well. And I think they're made on some paper that you found in Japan?
Yeah, sure. So I found this little market in Japan, and I thought, you know, I've got to buy some of this material. It's just fantastic. And I was actually inspired by postcards as well. So I wanted to kind of have this kind of feeling, and, you know, create this, again, a narrative of turning these, or, you know, creating these pieces which almost look like postcards, which almost look like love letters, with this kind of Japanese feel, you know, being sent from Japan back home. So yeah, they are personal pieces, and I think they're some of my favourite pieces, to be honest with you.
They feel special to me. I was so thrilled that we were able to bring them into the library. I love them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There's those pops of colour and suggestions of writing. It's
hints of landscape.
Of course, yeah.
So there's a print underneath that you've painted over and then applied other motifs on top. There's
lots of layers, and you know, it's just about building the piece, really. It's a mixed media piece, and I'd love to do some more, actually.
You know, looking at those pieces of work, which was, I think, talking to you about those was the first time we spoke, but even just looking at the images, I started to feel a little bit as though, not only that I knew you, because they are personal, but also that I knew Japan, which is amazing because I've never been.
Yeah. I do like to give a bit of an insight, or try to give an insight into, into these places that I've discovered and been to, and I think it's important to add that personal touch because essentially it's my journey and
Yeah. What are you working on now?
I'm working on a couple of paintings. Obviously, I've just got back from Hanoi in Vietnam. I was blown away by the artwork in Vietnam. I wasn't expecting that, and again, lots of gold, some quirky characters.
What took you to Vietnam?
Well, again, it's kind of Southeast Asia. I mean, like, it was strange once I got there. I wasn't really expecting it the way it was, but just so much energy and the food was just incredible.
We're back to chefing.
Yeah. I had a great time when I was fully inspired.
Oh, Alexander, amazing. Thanks so much for your time.
No problem,
It's
mate.
been great to meet you and to learn so much about your work.
No, thank you.
Yeah. So,
Great having you here.
yeah, cheers. And I look forward to seeing more of your work in the Vieunite Library.
Oh, cheers, mate. Thank
Cheers, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I mean, look, they're just ideas. It's just ideas. I mean, when people say to me, "What made you do that?" I'm like, "Well, it's just an idea. If you don't do the idea, then it ain't then it ain't going to happen, is it?"
No. Well, got back to fear, overthinking things, not living in the moment.
Do it.
Yeah, just do it.
Do it, and then see what happens.
Yeah.